I think any reasonable person will look at what is indeed a complex conflict, but we'll look at what's happening right now and the immediate need to stop the killing spree, stop the deaths, stop the killing in Gaza. It was an encouraging sign when the new government said that it would halt weapons exports and sales to Israel, but it will have to be robust and quite wide, otherwise it risks becoming a bit of a symbolic gesture. Can you talk a little bit about where that stands, where we are with that?
So the new UK government has been very clear. International humanitarian law is incredibly important. Now the UK has a legal regime when it comes to the control of arms exports to any country. The new Foreign Secretary very quickly in office commissioned advice on this issue around the following of international humanitarian law. This is a complex area, but it's one that's very important. So we are proceeding with that at pace urgently. We'll make sure that we're updating, of course, the UK Parliament about that as soon as we can.
Can you provide any specifics? Will we be wide enough to stop the war machine that is continuing to bombard Gaza, even as we speak here today?
So I'm obviously here as Development Minister, and we've been desperately concerned about the humanitarian situation that we see currently within Gaza. The UK government, with a new government, we have ensured that we're providing additional support that will help 55,000 people in Gaza to access the clean water and sanitation that's required. But we've also been clear, of course, that there has to be an immediate ceasefire. There must be the return of all hostages, and we need to see a surge of aid into Gaza. And of course, in the longer term, we need to see that progress towards a two-state solution that is required. Now, that message has been coming loud and clear from the new UK government. Our Foreign Secretary has been in the region twice since the election just a few weeks ago. Obviously, I am here in Jordan as well to be very clear about that message. Also, the need for de-escalation more broadly in the region. And of course, our Prime Minister has been advocating that message too.
Now, on the point of de-escalation, with the view that identifying the problem is half the solution, the violence is very one-sided. It is coming from Israel. And do you see this government differing from the previous one in terms of the potential of boycotts and sanctions? Is there room to broach that subject? Because that is what has worked in previous similar conflicts in terms of dealing with aggressive governments.
So there have been sanctions applied by the UK government towards those who have advocated extreme violence when it comes to the West Bank and the expansion of settlements there. And one of my concerns as the new Development Minister has been the fact that some of the attention of the world has been on developments in Gaza, understandably because of the humanitarian situation, but we've not seen that focus on the expansion of illegal settlements and the violence that has been taking place there. And so we were very clear in opposition, we're very clear in government that we completely reject that violence. And as I say, there have been sanctions applied, but we've also been clear when it comes to that humanitarian challenge that, for example, it was important for us to ensure that UNRWA funding was reignited under a new government. We look carefully at the Colonna report, at the other investigations that have taken place. We're supporting UNRWA around that reform agenda, but also making sure that support is there for the future, and also more broadly around the following of international humanitarian law.
De-escalation, and specifically when you look at Gaza, the death toll is at absurd levels. We're nearing 40,000, mainly women and children being killed here. Isn't the most immediate need to stop that? And isn't the most immediate way of doing that to sanction Israel's government, to sanction the military, to be openly critical of how they are continuing to carry on this conflict in the face of all humanitarian concerns? They seem unwilling to stop. Even the United States government has said that they are actively sabotaging ceasefire talks.
Well, we've been very clear there must be an immediate ceasefire. There must be. The humanitarian impact is extreme, and of course I've been here in Jordan to understand from those who've been very active on these issues, including of course the Jordanian government that the UK government has worked with, about the impact on civilians, particularly the impact on women and children, where we're seeing some very, very concerning developments within Gaza. So we are very clear there must be a ceasefire. Now, we've been advocating that message consistently as a new government. Our Foreign Secretary has been to the region twice. Just since the election a few weeks ago, he's been very clear, including with his Israeli counterparts, that there must be a ceasefire. He's also been very clear consistently about the need for international humanitarian law to be followed. And of course, as you can see, I'm here as Development Minister. This is my first bilateral visit as a minister in the new government to be crystal clear about the need for us to focus on that humanitarian need, the people who are stuck in the middle of this, the impact on them, the severe humanitarian need, and that is the message that I'm advocating here and more broadly.
Do you see any reason for optimism during your visit here?
We have to be optimistic. We must be, because otherwise people who are in appallingly vulnerable situations will see a further deterioration. And we've been very clear there must be de-escalation. We've advocated that message very strongly to all parties. We will continue to do that. We will continue to work with our partners. That includes, of course, here in Jordan. I've had many discussions with ministers from the Jordan government over the last few hours. We're very clear together that there must be that de-escalation, that it's in no one's interest to see additional conflict. And ultimately, the new UK government is really clear. We want to play our part in securing that better future, ultimately a two-state solution when it comes to the situation for Palestinians and Israelis, and also further security and stability for the region. And to end on an optimistic note, there is so much potential, so much economic potential, environmental potential. When we can have that more secure and stable future, that can be realised, but we'll have to work in partnership to deliver it.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.